Good morning, Thailand. My name is Alex, and I have some news updates from around the land of smiles for you today, this Tuesday, October 22nd. Now, today we're going to be talking about some really scary stories that are coming out around Thailand. A little bit later, we'll be talking about a dog that unfortunately was killed in Malaysia and is causing a big stir on social media because it was so beloved. But first, we are going to be talking about casinos. Now, Newin, a key political figure here in Thailand, has rejected Thaksin's casino plan amid social concerns. That's right, Newin Chidchob has rejected Thaksin Shinawat's proposal to legalize casinos in Thailand, citing concerns over debt and, addiction. Thaksin, the father of the current Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawat, proposed casinos as part of entertainment complexes in tourist hubs like Bangkok and Phuket to boost the economy. Now, despite Newin's opposition to casinos, he remains open to supporting entertainment projects that exclude gambling. This disagreement between the influential political figures is notable, especially as investigations into Thaksin's influence over his daughter's government are ongoing. The outcome could impact Thailand's political and economic future. I think the big question here is, why does Thaksin still, he's still championing new policy ideas, even though he's not supposed to be in politics? The Shinawatra family, the dynasty, is very well established, but here you have some key political figures coming against this thing. Casinos, very controversial, particularly in countries that are still, Thailand is still developing. I'm looking outside, there's all sorts of cranes and everything still building up this economy. That's the danger, is that, who do the casinos hurt? Yes, there's a lot of money to be made. Yeah, sure. But where's the money going to be going? And where's it going to be coming from? Unfortunately, this kind of stuff, gambling, it's one of those tax on people who can't do math kind of thing. And just looking at how incredibly popular the lottery here is in Thailand, I can understand his concerns about gambling addiction. But curious to know your thoughts. Please let me know in the comments. What do you think? Should casinos be opened up here in the land of smiles? Let's move on to our next one, where we have a bad driver doing something crazy. Any guesses as to what kind of car? I'll let you know. Now, a family has rejected a settlement in a drunk Porsche driver case. A family in Chiang Mai is seeking justice after a 22-year-old Mr. Irfan Musa was severely injured by a drunk Porsche driver who offered 200,000 baht as a settlement. Musa's father, Mr. Suding Musa, believes the charges, reckless driving and drunk driving, are too lenient and is demanding attempted murder charges, which police have refused. The July 2024 accident left Musa with severe injuries and his future as a physiotherapist in doubt. The driver's lawyer proposed the settlement, but Musa's family rejected it, vowing to fight for harsher penalties in court. Public concern over police handling of the case is growing. I mean, come on, dude. Severe injuries, could have died. Fortunately, he didn't. But with his career in question now as a physiotherapist, which does require physicality, for a mere 200,000 baht, right? That's not really going to help you out too much. That's going to go pretty quickly. So I think the family is doing right by their son to stand by him and try to fight for a bigger settlement, harsher punishments, whatever the like. But lo and behold, we see somebody who is behaving irresponsibly behind the wheel, drunk driving. Again, could have been worse. So I'm inclined to agree, wondering how the police are going to handle this as there is a growing spotlight being projected onto this particular case. We'll try to keep you updated and be part of that attention that's coming in. All right. Well, anyways, we got some spooky stories still coming up. Now, police are hunting suspects in an assault and robbery of a delivery rider. So this is a weird bait and switch story. Police are searching for two-time men who allegedly staged a road accident in Nonthaburi and robbed 64-year-old food delivery driver Chayaporn just the other day. Now, the suspects demanded 5,000 baht in compensation, stole 1,500 baht, and assaulted him when he refused to pay. Chayaporn suffered a fractured bone near his eye and is at risk of blindness. Police are using CCTV footage to track the suspects. Chayaporn's family is calling for justice as he recovers from his injuries. God, yeah, this poor guy, man. 64 years old, still doing delivery driving, like just grinding and hustling, sees two guys stayed like in an accident, right? So he's like acting out of the goodness of his heart. Like, oh my God, are you guys okay? Call the ambulance. But not for me, the whole meme. And now dealing with this injury, out of his money, trying to call for, right now these guys are still at large, so we don't really know where they are. But heart goes out. Hopefully there's some people doing some money to raise for his medical bills, since that looked like a nasty dink on the old eyeball over there. But yeah, just terrifying stuff. And it sucks, dude, because this is the kind of stories where, Thai people are good Samaritans. People are willing to stop and help each other all the time, which, if anybody spent any time in China or lived in China, like I have, that is not a thing. So it's something I appreciate about Thailand, and to see that being taken advantage of is pretty disgusting. So I hope the police are able to track him down and this man can find some justice. Let's move on to our next one, which is equally more horrifying, one could argue. Now, 3 suspects are being sought for dumping a woman's body near a cassava farm. So police in Outrage are searching for 2 women and a man suspected of dumping the body of an unidentified woman near a cassava farm. The body, found on October 20th, showed signs of strangulation, with the victim's hands and legs tied and concealed under a pink blanket. Witnesses saw a suspicious white van at the scene, and police are reviewing CCTV footage. Oh, there it is. Authorities are urging families with missing relatives to help identify the victim as the body undergoes an autopsy. Well, hopefully they've got at least a license plate number or something like that, but at least they have something to go on here. A woman was unidentified, and still nobody coming forward from the public to claim this body. Who knows what this was? Like, interesting that it was two women and a man. So you have to wonder what the motivations were for this crime, because it does appear to be a conspiracy, not just one single lone wolf acting in a horrendous, heinous manner. So we'll see. It seems like the police have something to work on. And yeah, if anybody is in the area and knows of any missing women, this might be the time to go and check and see if this is your girl. Unfortunate end to her story, but hopefully the police can track them down and keep this from happening from anyone else. All right. Anyways, moving on. This is going to be a weird one. So we have a heist story coming up involving a grilled chicken vendor. Yeah, he was arrested for a gold shop robbery. But get a load of this guy. Police arrested 41-year-old grilled chicken vendor Thaksin Aromyim for robbing a gold shop in Nonthaburi, stealing 2 gold necklaces worth 87,000 baht. Get a load of this guy. He's a little bit of a big boy. Not sure how he managed that. On October 19th, Thaksin visited the shop, tricked the worker, and fled with the necklaces on his motorcycle. He was arrested 40 minutes later at his home, didn't get very far, where the stolen items were recovered. Thaksin admitted to committing the theft to pay off his debts. He faces up to 5 years in prison and a fine under Section 336 of the criminal law. Yeah, that's pretty... Let's just say he has some distinguishing features that would make him stand out if he were in a lineup. You don't usually see boys built that big over here in Thailand, but yeah, certainly not the kind of guy that can make off quickly in a heist. Am I fat shaming? I'm not sure, but in this case, I am shaming the crime. We'll see. Poor guy dealing with debt, but, you gotta live within your means, man, and that does not excuse you from committing this crime. Fortunately, nobody was injured, and it was a pretty quick investigation. 40 minutes he was on the lam, but the story ends there. We'll see if what kind of punishments he'll be facing, but 5 years seems a bit harsh. I don't really know, but certainly something. We'll see. All right, enough of that one. Silly story, that one. But moving on to something that everybody cares about here in Bangkok, and that is that our Bangkok governor, Chad, is supporting a congestion charge to ease traffic. So, Bangkok Governor Chad supports the Transport Ministry's plan to introduce a congestion charge for vehicles entering the city's busiest areas to reduce traffic and encourage public transport use. The revenue will help fund a 20 baht flat fare for electric trains. However, Chad stresses the improvements to public transport infrastructure, including buses and pedestrian pathways, must come first. Inspired by models in London and Singapore, the congestion charge aims to reduce traffic and promote sustainable transport solutions. I'm not entirely sure how we're going to enforce this. This does seem like an ambitious plan. Look, raising money in order to support the alternatives, right? More public transport, metro, walking paths would be nice. Yeah, it's still pretty treacherous walking around in the city in Bangkok when you're going down one of those side sois and all of a sudden the sidewalk ends and you're in the road. So it's not exactly convenient to be a pedestrian in the city. So I'm curious to know exactly what the plan is to roll this out. It does seem the government is unified on the concept, but enforcement, everybody's supposed to be wearing helmets too, but I don't see that all the time either. So everyone driving is wearing a helmet. All the passengers aren't. What are we doing? So I guess I'm curious to see how the enforcement will actually play out and how they'll be catching people. Is it going to be like, single occupancy, like drivers and things like that? I'm not entirely sure what the plan is, but we'll keep an eye on it because it does appear to be a policy that will be rolling out shortly. What do you think? I'll take any sort of effort to alleviate the congestion in our famously blocked up city. That's it for our Thailand news, guys. We're going to move on to our ASEAN news now, which we have some weird stuff coming out of here, including an unfortunate tale. I know we've talked a lot about death and murder and stuff like that today, and I'm not done yet because we're heading over to Malaysia. Now, there's outrage in Malaysia after a beloved stray dog was shot. The killing of Kopi, a beloved stray dog in Malaysia, has sparked national outrage after the dog, known for her viral TikTok video playing with a kitten, was shot during a culling operation in Terengganu on October 6th. Locals and animal rights activists are demanding justice, claiming that Kopi was cared for and posed no threat. Activists are planning to submit a memorandum advocating for humane treatment of strays. The hashtag Justice for Kopi is trending on social media with widespread calls for an investigation. That sucks. Look, I know that soy dogs, strays, they're a thing everywhere. Culling is kind of a weird thing for me. I would hope that there'd be more, rescue services and shelters and things like that. Certainly, doing the old yeller and shooting them seems a bit cruel and a little inhumane. So I'm curious to see, is this actually official government policy that was being carried out? Were people just, sick of the dogs? And who thought that this was a good idea to do it to an actually famous dog? I don't know. We'll get to the bottom of it. Hopefully those activists are raising up a storm about this and might affect some change about this policy. But good luck, Malaysia, and rest in peace, Kopi. All right, moving on. We got political news coming out of Vietnam. Now, if you guys remember, we've been reporting about Vietnam having one man be the head of the party, the Communist Party over there, and being the president at the same time, holding all of that power under one fist. That has now changed. Now, Vietnam has appointed a new president amid its political turmoil. Notice the word appoint. Vietnam has elected General Luong Thuong as its new president following months of political instability. Thuong, 67, replaces To Lam, who remains the general secretary of the Communist Party and really still the main head honcho, the country's most powerful position. The presidency is largely ceremonial, but Thuong vowed to promote peace and independence. His appointment comes after the death of former party leader Nguyen Phu Trong and the anti-corruption campaign that shook Vietnam's leadership. Critics warn Thuong's appointment could lead to increased repression. I mean, yeah, it's a big thing in Vietnam, guys. We gotta look, as much as Vietnam doesn't get along with China, also tries to get along with them for economic reasons, there's a lot of similarities into how their political systems work, right? It's very opaque. It's all one-party system. And within that party, there's, every time there's a corruption shakedown and people are arrested, you have to wonder, is this like a real culling of corruption, or is it infighting within the political party and, just the stronger man survives? Now, in this case, the president is now largely seen as a figurehead, not really controlling too much power. So To Lam, still the main man in charge over there. He's also, I believe, in his 70s now, too. So old men holding on to power for too long. What else is new? But we'll see. This is still very controversial in Vietnam amongst the Vietnamese people. And I'd be shocked if there was any actual developments in their political system. All right, on to our next story. Now, we're into the Philippines, where there is big political news happening as the political feud between Marcos, current president, and former President Duterte is risking the Philippines' stability. That's right, a growing feud between Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. and Vice President Sara Duterte Carpio threatens to divert attention from urgent issues like rising hunger and economic instability. Duterte Carpio's harsh public attacks on Marcos, including a shocking beheading threat, has sparked social media backlash and concerns over political stability. Analysts warn that this power struggle between two dominant political dynasties could stall efforts to address things like poverty and hunger in the country, with recent surveys revealing a sharp rise in food insecurity. As economic challenges persist, critics argue the feud harms the country's ability to implement necessary reforms. Yeah, yikes. I mean, we talk about the level of the rhetoric that comes out of Western politics, particularly in America with the election ramping up. We ain't got nothing on the Philippines, man. They're all talking about beheading each other over there. So Philippines has a long history of democracy, the votes, like they do vote. I've been in the Philippines during election seasons, during an election, actually, when Duterte was elected. I was there. And it was pretty heated, man. There was like all sorts of political campaigns and advertisements all over the place. Major part of the culture, the political engagement. However, how is the engagement being used, right? If we could channel that into some, actual public policy that helps people, that'd be great. But it doesn't seem to be happening. I'll give you an anecdote. I was in the Philippines with a tour guide of mine, and he took me to his house eventually, where the first thing he showed me was his prized cockfighting chicken, which is a big part of the culture over there. And then he introduced me to his house, which was a very little small, like, shack almost near the beach. And then he introduced me to his 12 children. I was like, good God. All right. So very Catholic over there. And with all of that comes with that. And that just sort of shows, like, just inherent to the culture. There's a lot of difficulties and speed bumps in trying to escape those poverty traps, which, everyone in the Philippines, they're hustlers, man. They try. But at the end of the day, it's like running on a treadmill. So I don't know what the answer is, but certainly the political fighting at the top is not helping anybody. All right, our last story for the day. We are off to Singapore for some environmental news. Now, the major oil company Shell has reported no operations impact after an oil leak in Singapore. Ooh, good for them. Shell reported that an oil leak occurred at its energy and chemicals park in Singapore's Bukom Island over the weekend, but stated there was no impact on operations or supply. Yay. Approximately 30 to 40 metric tons of a slop mixture, which is oil and water, leaked into the sea. The leak has been stopped and cleanup efforts are underway with relevant authorities. This comes after Shell shut down a crude distillation unit for maintenance in August, which was expected to end in October. Earlier this year, an oil spill near Singapore also affected beaches on Sentosa Island. Well, they're on a roll, aren't they? The oil leakages, the oil spills, they're still coming through. Leave it to the big companies to prioritize. Hey, don't worry, our operations are still going. Seems like the news is more important for their shareholders than it is for the actual people who might be affected by these oil leaks. Cleanup efforts are underway. Hopefully, the Singapore government takes it seriously because, the people who are hurt the most are the people at the bottom, the fishermen, the tourism industry, that kind of thing. I assume that the Shell Oil Company will come out of this all right. Not going to shed a tear. All right, guys. Let me wrap up the show real quick, then I'll get into the comments. All right, cool. So that'll do it for our news from around Thailand and the greater ASEAN region. You can always go to thetiger.com or ASEANnow.com for more news updates throughout the day. And sign up for memberships at both of them. So you can make the Thaiger an ad-free experience. You can go to ASEAN Now, sign up, and enjoy the commentary from the Peanut Gallery that is constantly posting new and interesting thoughts and ideas about life here in Thailand and the ASEAN region. For now, that'll do it. We'll be off tomorrow, so no show tomorrow, Wednesday. We'll be back on Thursday. And for now, I will get into the comments and have a chat with you boys.